So this week, it looks like Biz Gear might have got lucky. I met their new admin coordinator, and so it's basically the old one left middle of last week, and they've already got a new person. I'm not sure how they actually sourced this person, whether it was just through the usual channel, through Seek, but I had a look at her resume and she's got great qualifications, good background. I briefly got to meet her and she comes across, first impressions, nice, normal, decent human being who should fit in quite well with the team. Is the first impression. Only very, very brief discussion with her today. Didn't really have the time to get to know her better, but the plan is next week she and I will spend some time together because I want to introduce her to the software management system that we're helping set up for Biz Gear, and that has it has her role outline, but what it also has is 90-ish% of the procedures that she's going to need to be performing on a day-to-day basis to do her role. So the business owner and I today went through that platform, and because we've got a lot of the work already done, we structured again on that system. We use that to manage internal training. It makes training people really, really easy, very quick, gives them the resources they need in case they forget something, which new people do, and it structures it all into a way where both the new person can manage their own training, but also the business can manage their training in terms of monitoring how far they've progressed through it, keeping track of when certain modules have been completed and what actual specific training items have been covered. So it's really useful, and particularly right now. So the business owner and I worked together to make sure we had that set up for that role. That's the first one of those. The intention is that we're actually going to arrive at a point in the not too distant future where we have the internal training modules set up for every role in the business, which is an awesome thing to have if you're a small business owner. The difference that makes to the day-to-day operations of the business, your efficiency, just to the morale. It's wonderful having a team full of people who know exactly what to do, how to do it, what outcomes they need to produce, and they can train themselves to do it. So this today was the first, it's now the first of the roles where we've now linked everything together. So we have spent some time working on the organizational structure, which then allowed us to get into defining the roles properly. As we've defined the roles, we're also working on improving operational processes, but as we're improving the operational processes, we're also documenting quite a lot of those processes and the processes that link directly back to the tasks within each of the roles. So this then allows us to compile a complete internal training module for each role in the business. So we end up with a complete closed loop, which is fantastic. Everything in the business works properly when you've got all those things set up well. So that's the first one of those that we've got done. And the other thing I did, sort of tying into that, into new people, new roles, was catching up with the person who was the now become our apparel and human resources coordinator. He and I spent a lot of time together today. It was a bit of a D&M just around the changes that have been happening in the business, because a few people have left. We've got a few new people come back in. We've tweaked the organisational structure fairly significantly, and that's impacted him. He's not 100% comfortable with one of the new hires that we've made. And this new hire, yeah, I can understand his issues with this person, because this person's come in super enthusiastic, kind of like, you know, Bugs Bunny, Tasmanian Devil style, spinning around, getting a whole bunch of stuff done. It's constructive things, but there's a lot happening and a lot getting done that where not everybody in the business is in the loop as to why it's happening. And so I was aware of a lot of the things that he's doing. Some of the things that I found out have been happening today, kind of in line with where we're going, and it really comes down to a communication issue. But what it comes down to more so, I think, is a bit of a clash of personalities between these two individuals, and they're both fairly strong characters. But this creates an opportunity for our former general manager, now apparel and HR coordinator, in that one of the things that I'm trying to get value into the business, or for the business out of, is their operations meetings. They have traditionally had a weekly operations meeting. It hasn't been very well structured, it hasn't been very well run, which is pretty normal for small businesses. Part of what my job is to help them streamline that, get into a rhythm and get some proper value out of it. But with our former GM feeling a little displaced because he's not the GM anymore, not that he ever really was, and that was to a large extent his fault, because he never actually stepped up into doing the kinds of things that a GM should do. Now, there are reasons around that. It was a little difficult because it's a family business. There are family members within the business, and anybody who has worked for a family business with other family members in the business knows that it's virtually inevitable that you're going to have allowances made for family members that would not be made for non-family members in an ordinary small business. That's just to, although ordinary small businesses usually have family members. So it's just part of being in a small business. But these are the things that we work around. These are the things that, as part of what I do, we structure the business so that the family side of things can work properly within the business, but also so that the non-family employees get the opportunity to be engaged, deliver value, and are rewarded for good work. So part of the discussion that I had with our now apparel and HR coordinator was around the weekly operations meeting, because he had some concerns. There are things happening in the business that he wasn't fully, he's used to being consulted on some of these things, and there are now things happening in the business that he's not feeling is connected with. He's feeling the communication isn't as good. And so there's kind of an opportunity here for a win-win that I see. One, the weekly operations meeting's a bit of a mess. Two, our apparel and HR manager has the skill sets, and also meetings and communication and staff focused things falls under the HR heading. So it naturally fits his role as that area of responsibility for perhaps taking control of that weekly operations meeting, helping to streamline it, helping to refine the agenda, keep it on track and make sure it adds value to the business, but also to make sure that everybody knows what's going on week to week across all the different areas of the business, and they know why things are being done the way that they're being done. And it also gives all of the key people an opportunity to be included in the discussion about how those things are going to be rolled out. Because one of his concerns is that they were getting in and changing the ordering and the in-tray and deliveries management, delivery dockets, and the processes around that, goods receiving, which is something that we have been working on as part of the operational plan. So he did know it was happening, but he was more concerned about the way it was being altered, and he's not knowing what the objective, and it's quite a significant change to the way that paperwork system has been managed. And so my point was, well, if you were running the weekly operations meetings, this is something that could be raised and discussed, and you'd have your opportunity to have input and to just express some of the concerns you've got about how that's going to impact other areas of the business, because he's rightfully concerned that our new person who's managing the warehouse is not looking across the entire flow of the business's processes and only focused on the receiving side and the inventory allocation into stock or off to the customers, not understanding the flow of the rest of it. So this kind of presented opportunity, A, for our apparel manager to reinforce his value back as, again, one day becoming a proper general manager, or at least assistant to, at least a 2IC to the manager of the business, and to give him an opportunity to help coordinate things amongst the team, and also fulfill his HR role, but also improve the business and the value that the business is getting out of the operational planning process. So I suggested that fairly gently, because this is all it's a bit of a tender kind of area for him at the moment, what his role is and where he fits in the business. But it'll be interesting to see when I catch up with him next what his thoughts are on him potentially taking ownership of those weekly operations meetings. So some interesting things happened today. The training thing's really significant. That adds huge value to a business, but so does having well-structured, efficient meetings. So yeah, not a bad day.